You are now listening to the Pelicans Postgame Report.
Shout out to the fam. Appreciate y'all being in this episode of PPR Update. Big ups to the fam. Appreciate y'all. Please feel free to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. By all means, feel free to share the show on your stream. Much love to the fam in this one, man. We kind of going over some news, man, dealing with your Pelicans, man. And this is an article that popped up today. Pelicans express interest in trading for Atlanta's Clint Capela. They're big, and of course, we know that the Pelicans have an issue right now at the position, as we don't, outside of using Larry as a center that Willie likes to do. This is something that is circulating. We're going to go over this one. This is from All Hawks Fan Nation. They're speaking about this thing and talking about Pelicans, Bulls, Wizards, and Grizzlies showing interest in trading for Clint Capela. Now, we've talked about this before on the previous PPR update streams, that potentially, if a deal, Atlanta wants to move Clint Capela. They want to. Their backup center, Okongwu, is a guy that they're very interested in keeping, and he has an upside there. And it also depends on what Atlanta is doing with that first-round draft pick. A recent report saying that they're going to keep the pick and draft there. But in terms of the Pelicans, we understand that a potential trade that deals with Trey Murphy, more than likely, Atlanta is going to want to try to see if they can get rid of Clint Capela and his contract. So let's see what they're talking about in this article. Celtics winning it. Shout out to the Celtics getting the title. This offseason beginning the rumor mill changing as we officially hitting right off into the offseason, as the season is pretty much done with the Boston Celtics claiming the NBA championship this year. Boy, those two teams, either it's going to be at, Boston or LA. They got a bulk of the titles between both of them, man. Everybody else is sprinkled about. But Capela was mentioned today by Action Network's Matt Moore as someone the Pelicans, Bulls, Wizards, and Grizzlies have interest in trading for. And he says none of these teams, other than the Bulls, perhaps are surprising to hear, as they've been rumored to be looking for a center upgrade. Here's what Moore had to say about Clint Capela. No one knows who Atlanta is going to take with the number one pick, and Athletic Sam Vicini reported that he doesn't believe the Hawks know yet. However, the Hawks debate how to reshape their team going forward changes, but not a complete teardown or expected. This is what we said. They're not going to tear the team down. They're just going to reset the team, which means move out Trey. That's the report saying they're going to move Trey Murphy out, see if they can get a asset to help with the reset option with Quinn Snyder at the head coach position, but not a complete teardown or is expected. In particular, the Hawks are expected to trade one of Trey Young or DeJounte Murray, but not both. They either going to trade one or the other. I said that. I kept telling y'all that over the offseason. They'll keep one to build around. Like I told you that. Trey Murphy more than likely will be the guy that they move out the contract, and then the rumor circulating around there. If they can get a star to pair with DeJounte Murray, plus they have the first round draft pick, some money in free agency, they're looking to make some moves. Getting rid of Clint Capela's $20 million contract will be also a popular option. Clint Capela is a popular trade target with the Grizzlies, Wizards, and Bulls, and they have some interest, he says. Now, it seems likely that the Hawks are going to move Capela, maybe as likely as anyone on the roster, but if the team does not select either Alex Sarr or Donovan Clingan with the number one pick, it would likely Okongwu becomes the full-time starter at center, and he could be the starting center even if Sarr or Clingan is drafted. Now, there are obvious trade targets for the Hawks on each team. I have written about the Pelicans and Hawks are perfect trade partners, and each have something the other needs. Atlanta could package DeJounte Murray and Capela to acquire Ingram, or the Hawks could try to pry Herb Jones away from the Pelicans. Highly doubted, but they might try. They tried that last year. The Hawks could try to acquire Marcus Smart from Memphis. Smart is a streaky three-point shooter, but if he can stay healthy, I think he would be a nice complement to Trey Young, providing toughness and defense. Outside of the report, the Pelicans want Okongwu to be the guy that they go with. Now, ultimately, that probably more than likely is not going to happen, but a lot could change. Like we said, he can act as a starting center, perhaps depending on who they draft, or perhaps he can be a backup option. It depends. They have options. But in terms of, and this writer obviously was pushing for DeJounte Murray to be traded as opposed to Trey Young, but Trey Young is a guy that a lot of people believe will be traded. And the Pelicans more than likely are going to go with the number one option to acquire a star, because that's what the Pelicans are going to try to do. They're going to try to acquire a star to pair with Zion Williamson this offseason. Now, how that works, we'll get to following that as we get later on in the season. But it's going to be most interesting because we talked about this very same thing, is the fact that if the Pelicans wanted Trae Young, more than likely the Atlanta Hawks are going to attempt to move Clint Capela. Now, the Pelicans do need a starting center, as Valanciunas is gone, so they could use an experienced center. And the fact of the matter is that Clint Capela does have, and this is his contract right here, has 1 year remaining on this deal, and that's a $22.6 million year that the Pelicans will have to deal with just for 1 year, and he becomes unrestricted at the age of 31 for the upcoming season. So the Pelicans do have some options. They can acquire Clint Capela just to get Trae here, and then ultimately work out a trade if they don't want Capela, because he can eventually, once they get him, then later on they can see about moving him because of the attractiveness of an expiring contract. Later on in the year, 22.6 million falls off your book. So it is a very tradable contract if the Pelicans do take on Clint Capela. And also, as we keep it moving here, Clint Capela's numbers, and this is his numbers right here, last year, 11.5, points per game versus 10.6 on the rebounds, 57.1%. And the fielding averages like a block and a half per game. In 73 starts last year for the Hawks, he had 73 games, 73 starts, averages about 26 minutes per contest for them, 57%, which is more than like, that's like almost the second lowest field goal percentage that he had since he's been playing in the NBA. The lowest was in his rookie year, 48.3. But does he fit what Willie Green's doing? He's a guy that can still catch the lob. His offensive game in terms of his away from the board game and 3-point shooting, that's not what Clint Capela does. He's not going to take 3-point shots. He's a heavy offensive guy that runs to the offensive rebound to collect those rebounds. And he averaged like 4.6 offensive rebounds per contest, 6 defensive rebounds per game. So he's a guy that hustles on the offensive end, cleaning up shots. So if the Pelicans missing jumpers or something like that, Clint Capela is there to go get the rebound, clean it up, stick back, or, fighting for effort. Now, he's 30 years of age, and he can help the Pelicans. Now, he's not as spry as he used to be, but the Pelicans, man, if Trae Young and Clint Capela could be somebody the Pelicans could reach out and get, it's going to be hefty, because Clint at 22.6 and Trae at 43 million, I believe. It's going to be pretty hefty, man, to say the least, about these contracts dealing with these players. It's going to be very interesting to see how the Pelicans handle this going forward. Now, just talk about the trade situation going on with BI, which would be interesting to facilitate such a deal. There is a trade kicker to be aware of in BI's contract, just to let the family members know about BI's trade kicker, which, according to Yahoo Sports, if you take a look at his salary right now, it's 33.8 mil. Now, trade bonus percentage of 15% according to BI's contract. And of course, that currently will set it off at 10.4 plus mil. So that can bump BI's salary when it's, because he gets that 15% increase that Atlanta will have to eat on the trade. So, hey, that's a caveat that we talked about. Now, that's a big piece of information, to be honest with your family, that we've kind of hit on it. But to really think about it, that if BI is traded, more than likely he'll be traded. If he's being traded to Atlanta, at his trade kicker at 15%, according to his contract, is 10.4 mil, which would kick him up to 43 million, which is right around what Trae Young is making. When you talk about the contract kicking into effect and the bonus money that he gets, that elevates there. So this could definitely have a big stamp on what's going on with the trade with both these guys. Now, to kind of look at Trae Young, because Trae Young also has a trade kicker. So you can see him at 40 million, just over 40 million with 15%. His trade kicker is is 3 million, 2.9. Might as well average it or round it off at 3 million. So he's already at 43 mil right now. So the 15% kicker for BI's deal is 10 plus mil, which would kick them up that would make the money match like we want to see him. Big piece of information to kind of just keep in your mind about what's going on with that situation. Now, that's right. The Pelicans are working out former Baylor center Yves Missi. And this is not really a big, surprise right here. I know the Pelicans are doing their due diligence, trying to find a mobile big that fit Willie Green switch or die philosophy. So this was by Terry Kimball. Shout out to brother Terry and brother Kyle over there doing their thing. Pelicans are doing their due diligence before the NBA draft to evaluate center prospects. He says the NBA draft on June 26th at the Barclays Center. In New York, the Pelicans hold the number 21 pick in this year's draft. They need depth at the front court with offseason losses of starting center Jonas Valanciunas and backup center Cody Zeller, who are both free agents. A report from NBA insider Brandon Scoop B. Robinson revealed that the Pelicans are working out former Baylor center Yves Missi before the draft. Missi, a strong freshman campaign for the Baylor Bears. He averaged just, almost 11 points per game on 61% shooting from the field. He's 6'10", 230 plus pound athlete with a 7'2" wingspan and a 38.6 vertical jump at the NBA Combine. He made an impact on both sides of the floor. He averages a block and a half a game. And in college, while recording 14% offensive rebound rate, his biggest knack is his lack of polished offensive game. Strictly a player that is a hustle player, defensive player, finishes strong at the basket, can move very well. His game is strictly defensive orientated, hustle game, fights for everything, very athletic, will dunk on you. So he's a guy that has a lot of upside. But yeah, in terms of shooting threes and all that, that's not his game. So if you were looking for Yves Missi to stretch the floor, you're going to be waiting for a while. The 28-year-old made most of his points on putback shots and lobs near the rim. He managed 13 total assists compared to 39 turnovers. Missi is of Cameroonian heritage, joining NBA stars Joel Embiid and Pascal Siakam, who are already making a major impact in the league. And Yves is projected to be a mid to late first round pick. Missi received a draft night green room invite earlier this week, so they expect him to go in the first round. New Orleans also worked out former Purdue star Zach Edey, who finished his college career with back-to-back National Player of the Year awards. And Edey's game is a throwback to the big men of yesteryear, while Missi fits the role of a prototypical center in today's game. But you can see the interest in both a Missi and an Edey strictly because the Pelicans are looking at Edey, and Edey can move better than a lot of people think. He has good footwork, big guy, 7'4". And then, of course, we know we play in the Southwest where we have another massive giant that plays for the San Antonio Spurs and Victor Wembanyama. So Pelicans could be looking at that thing and saying, hey, man, we need something that can neutralize this guy because we play the Celtics there. The Spurs in the same division with us. Perhaps that's a thing. But Missi is a guy that moves really well around the board, cleans up, good offensive rebound, can shot block, does run the floor pretty well. But, in terms of stretching, that's not the thing. Now, in terms of switch off philosophy, Yves Missi can do that. He can work with the switch off mentality that Willie Green has. It's just that offensive game is not there, and they will have to develop that if they would use him at that position. So it's all the thoughts is if the Pelicans keep the pick up there, they're looking at selecting a big there to kind of help them out moving forward. So that'll be interesting to see how they will handle that situation. And we'll see, man. So up to date right now, just to show you, man, this is a list provided by the Rookie Wire. They gave a list of some of the Pelicans players. You can throw Yves Missi on this list of known players that the Pelicans have worked out. As you can see there, El Mansa from the G League, Kevin Cross from Tulane, Ryan Dunn from Virginia, Zach Edey, Jonathan Mogbo from San Francisco, Tristan Newton from UConn, Hunter Salas from Wake Forest, Tyler Smith from G League, Naquan Tomlin from Memphis, and Jalen Thompson from Cal, and Yves Missi. You can go on that list. So that's some of the guys that work out, just to give you guys a little information on that. So anyway, with that being said, I'm gonna get out on that. Listen, we got our draft content that'll be coming out tomorrow. We're rolling out, and we're gonna be talking about these NBA prospects and the roles going forward, kind of dropping game every year for a long time. We've done these draft prospects, and it's about time, baby. As the NBA season, Celtics close it out. Now we get ready to move forward into the off season. So here come that NBA draft prospect look at some of these guys that can help the Pelicans. And listen, before we get on out, man, listen, this is the thing, just to add on there. This is a very pivotal situation for the New Orleans Pelicans moving forward into the rest of this season. We've been very on point and letting people know about David Griffin. We've been telling them this is 5 years of David Griffin right here. His general manager that he picked is gone. He's about to pick, and all indications is Bryson Graham, who had no experience as being a general manager before. He'll be a total new guy. He's been an assistant general manager for a while with the Pelicans. So, we'll see how that all works out. But usually when you got somebody coming in the building, you're going to need somebody. It would be nice to have somebody with a little bit more experience, because this is a very pivotal juncture for the Pelicans. They need to make the right move, even though they're not moving like it's a pivotal situation. They haven't really talked to anybody, haven't announced anybody. You see James Borrego out there trying to get a job. You see Trajan Langdon leave to take the Detroit job. You see Trajan take Blackstone, who was, with him out there, Blackstone, out there. They've taken Freddie V, and the Pelicans just sitting there, just doing what they do and just working out guys, and just sitting there waiting. This is all on David Griffin. This is very pivotal. He has to make the right trade with the BI thing. We understand that. He has to pair Zion with the right player. You got to get somebody, and we thinking like a superstar to go there, and then not only get the player that they need, but they also have to not only get the star that goes right with Zion, but they're also going to have to nail the draft pick. They're going to have to nail the free agency down. They're going to have to fill the assistant roles that some of the guys like Freddie V, maybe internal people new people coming into the team, administration. There's a lot of openings and things. Pelicans need to get up and start shaking right now and making this stuff pop, because the Southwest is going to be a basketball division that's going to be on fire. All these teams are coming to play. So the Pelicans have to do the right things this off season. And it's going to be a very busy off season, because it's got to be. They have to nail this season down, and we'll be watching. All right. So anyway, with that being said, I'm going to get out on that. Y'all, please feel free to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and by all means, feel free to share the show on your social media feed. We up in this thing. And like I said, man, we're going to see what happens, man, at the end of the day. Much love, and go Pels.
Subscribe now and stay up to date for all things New Orleans Pelicans.